Welcome to today's episode of Financial Fluency. Today I am so excited to have Jennifer Love from One More Woman on here with me. Thanks for joining me, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me, Jen. It's so lovely to be here.
So Jennifer, I am really excited to talk about your company / project, One More Woman, but I also want to say you are the first person who's been on my show who has conquered Shark Tank and raised over $100 million and started multiple amazing companies. It's pretty fantastic. And I feel like sometimes for my listeners, most of us are women who work from home, who are doing kind of smaller things. And those kind of accomplishments, sometimes they can just seem so far away. You know, it's kind of like Bill Gates so I would love to talk to you about your background, how you got here, how you got from being a regular person, like a lot of us, to doing all the amazing stuff that you've done. How did you get started on this path?
Yeah, and the truth is that I'm still just one of those people, constantly just figuring it out. So that is the truth. I think a lot of it is about how I approach things. And, you know, I was lucky enough to grow up in a household where my mom constantly told me that I could do whatever I put my mind to. And so that kind of stuck with me throughout the years. And I find myself even now today constantly telling myself that I can do whatever I put my mind to. And I add to that my heart, right? Because I like to lead by my heart. But, you know, kind of tracing back, I've been a career entrepreneur. So this is all I know. I think I'm probably pretty unhireable in the corporate world at this point. But, you know, how I stumbled into entrepreneurship is kind of like a fun story. I mean, I was on a path to actually becoming a CIA strategist or an FBI strategist. And I was back in grad school debating whether I go into the Marines first or if I go into a PhD forensic psychology program.
Wow.
So that was the path that I thought that I was on. And
you could have
fast forward,
I
could have been Scully, 100%. I would just need to dye my hair red and no, but that was the path that I was on. And then as I got into the PhD program, which is the route that I started with, I realized that it was really focusing on the darkness of humanity that I just didn't want to look at every single day. I prefer to look at the bright side. And so all of my studies started turning towards white collar crime and business and business operations and kind of the psychology of business. And so I ended up getting my master's degree in organizational behavior, which is the psychology of business. And to today, I put that into practice. So I had this interesting offer back then, right as I was kind of wrapping up my last year of grad school, to write a business plan. Because of course, every master's degree business student knows how to write a business plan, right, Jen? Of course.
I guess so.
That's what they assumed. That's what they assumed anyway. And so I was asked to write a business plan from a casino, and having no clue how to write a business plan, I said, of course, sure, I'll write a business plan for you. And it was quite successful. It was successfully funded here in California, and off to the races, my entrepreneurial career really kind of began. So I began doing something that I had no idea really how to do and just figured it out. And fast forward 10 years, and I was consulting with Fortune 500 companies and celebrities like Ron Perlman and young early stage businesses, helping them set the growth plan for their business and to get funded in their business. So that's what I did for the first part of my career. But to kind of like backtrack on that a bit of like how in the world, it really started with this idea that I didn't have to know. I didn't have to have it all figured out, because I knew that with every project that came or every step that I would figure it out. And I often find myself telling companies or entrepreneurs that I advise, do you think that Thomas Jefferson or Ben Franklin or Milton Hershey or any of these, great kind of business or inventors had any idea what they were doing? No, They had no idea, but they were brave enough. They were courageous enough to step out and just try. And to frame their, what many of us would call failures, to frame those failures as learnings. And so if we can put on our science hat and become scientists in our business, in our life, and come from that perspective of, I'm just going to learn from every experience, whether it kind of flops or it doesn't, there's something for me to take away from this. And if you frame it that way, then you kind of take on what I call the double down strategy, and you start doubling down on the things that work really well and get rid of the things that don't. And before you know it, we're on this path to massive success that propels you forward in your life and in your career. So that's really the how of it for me.
So since you obviously studied psychology, I was just reading a book this morning, and the term action bias came up. And it sounds like, when I heard the definition of action bias, it sounds like exactly what you did. A business plan? Yeah, sure, I can write a business plan. Why not? Like, just jump in. And so when you had to write a business plan and you'd never done one before, did you go look up templates? Did you go find examples? Or
I was researching everything. And, this was, talking about aging myself here a bit, but this was, 20 years ago. And so there wasn't as much available online. So I was reading books, and then, I was really digging in with the client that I was working with at the time, which was the casino, and just trying to understand what was happening and getting into psychology of their consumer, of what they really wanted to do. So it wasn't that I was just, trying to create some template and like fill in the gaps, which wouldn't have been all terrible to just start there. But it was really getting into the mindset of those that they wanted to touch and reach as well. In fact, I just got off a call about an hour ago with one of the companies that I advised, Soul Camp, and we were kind of doing the same thing. They had one of their first day camps, and I'm super excited for them. They blew it out of the water with ticket sales. And then, we're looking at like the psychology of like, well, what's the next step in really reaching all of these 200 and almost 300 people that came to camp, and what is it that they really want and need, and understanding their pain points. And so rather than just trying to guess at it, right, it's really digging into what is it that they really want, and let's make sure to structure an offer that's really sound and based in some like grounded psychology and reality for them. And that when we dig into those pain points, when we really understand the psychology of our consumer, or our investor for that matter, or anyone, and we approach it from a heart-centered place of like, I want to help you, and I understand who you are, then it's kind of like lights out, because they feel heard, and they feel like they can trust you, and then they want to buy from you, and they want to buy more from you, and then it just keeps snowballing from there.
Which with a lot of...
So yes, that was a long way to answer yes.
Yes. Well, I couldn't help thinking though, when you're talking about the casino, the problem with what people want from a casino, for the casino to benefit, the people have to lose really quite a lot. But that's that's kind of a different than most businesses, and yet the house has to win enough to keep everything running, right? What state was
and also support the local community, support the Indian tribe. So there's a lot that goes into it besides just the winning and losing at the casino.
Yeah. And that is part of, here in Flagstaff, we have the Navajo Nation, which is, one of the large reservations in the country. And the casino has done a lot, it's paid for a lot of good things for the culture there as well. So yeah, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's just that, some people get the psychology of gambling is a hard thing in and of itself.
100%. And I don't condone it on any level. Yes.
Yeah. So you did the casino, you moved on to consulting with lots of companies. What was your Shark Tank experience? I'd love to hear what happened there.
Yeah, so fast forwarding a few years, I've started a wellness center with a natural doctor that's going really well today, focused on autistic children. I've launched a chocolate company, an international wholesale chocolate company, started in 2009. Last year was listed as one of the top candy companies in the United States. Amazing. And so I worked with Nibmore as the founding CEO, co-founding CEO, I should say, for like just over 6 years, almost 7 years. And kind of towards the tail end of that, I was lucky enough, and I say lucky enough because I love working with women entrepreneurs. It's like, I feel like I'm like a kid in a candy shop every single day. I met the founders of Lollyware, and they were two young ladies out of the Parsons School of Design and had this concept for a biodegradable cup. And during my time with them and working with them on building out the financial model and the sales strategy and the investment strategy, they were approached by Shark Tank. And so I ended up helping them prepare for Shark Tank for about 2.5 months, prepared this long document of like 100 questions, grilled them, lined up like advisory team that we all took on a role as one of the sharks, and
which one
like
were you?
poked at them.
Which
I was
shark?
Barbara.
Okay.
I was Barbara Corcoran. and then flew out to LA with them. And, this was the interesting part of this preparation. They knew their business inside and out. I had been grilling them for 2.5 months, and they could answer all of the questions, but they weren't answering all the questions with confidence. And I was concerned because I knew that the moment that they went on that stage, that if they weren't answering with confidence, that like, who wants to invest in lack of confidence? No one. And so I sat kind of back. I sat down in the bed with them, and I was like, ladies, you've got this. If you feel like, or you stumble, or you feel like you don't have the exact answer, yes, and them. And the yes, and them strategy is simply like, yes, you know what, I agree. And here's what we're going to do. Or, you know what, I don't have the exact answer for that, but, or, and, here, like, lead them to where you want them to go. Take control of the conversation. And then actually anticipate their questions before they even ask them, so that you look like the smartest person on that stage. Yes, anding is like a great confidence builder, but it's also a way to really lead a great conversation and direct it in a way where you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Jen, they got out on that stage and they had 4 sharks fighting for them. They went in asking for $150,000 for 15% of their company, and walked out with $600,000 for 25% of their company. Wow. Now, I don't like those percentages necessarily. Those are really high percentages. But in Shark Tank land, that's pretty unheard of, and was incredible. And they actually did end up closing the deal with Mark Cuban at $600,000 for 25% of their company.
Wow. And how's the company?
It's so huge. They're doing well. They're growing. They've moved manufacturing down to South America, working with Disney right now. And so they're really growing.
Great. Think of all the cups that get wasted at Disney. That's true, because you can't bring your own stuff. That's amazing.
100%. That's what I love. I love businesses and entrepreneurs who have a social impact in mind, and really want to help improve the world or the health of our people and planet in some way.
So how do women work with you?
So I went from Nibmore chocolate to founding One More Woman. And this is really my heart, right? I mean, like I said, I've been on this entrepreneurial journey for 20 years and have had massive learnings, Jen. And what some people would frame as like huge successes, absolutely. And what some would frame as massive failures, 100%. And I've experienced and seen so much in that time, from investors hitting on me, to devaluing my own companies in financial rounds, to a business partner that didn't want to have anything to do with a financial model or numbers and avoided it as the CEO of a company. I've seen so much that us women struggle with, in addition to confidence. For sure. We do. We struggle with our confidence levels and owning our value and our worth. And it translates into how much money we're making. And so, I had lived this, and I had seen this in entrepreneurs that I've been advising, and I said, no more. So I ended up creating the very thing that I wished that I had had back in the day. And One More Woman really is an accelerator for women entrepreneurs to help 2 to 10x their revenue in a 12-month period of time. And for me, even more importantly, Jen, it's to help them master financial literacy. So the way that I often will describe this, it's like, if you don't understand how to use your numbers, or how to measure, or know what, when, and how, the key performance indicators and what that information is telling you, it's like driving in a car blind. Now, Jen, if you drive a car blind, what's going to happen?
You're going to hit something.
You're going to crash.
Yeah.
You're going to crash. You're going to crash. Maybe you're going to get hurt. Maybe you're going to die. Or maybe you're just going to get a major fender bender that's going to cost you a lot of money. But the same rings true in your business. If you don't understand what's happening financially in your business and you're just guessing and like, I'm going to use my intuition. That's awesome. Use your intuition, but allow the numbers to guide you in that process. If you don't, at some point you're going to crash. Or at some point you're just going to kind of stay stuck where you are. And oftentimes what I see is that entrepreneurs are really creating more of a job for themselves rather than an actual business. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you actually want. But if what you're saying is that you want a business and not just a job created for yourself, then you really need to be paying attention to these numbers and these metrics. And so that's a huge part of at One More Woman, that we're focused on mastering that financial literacy. We have things like money parties every single month, where I've got like a what I call a love metrics dashboard. And it's this Excel spreadsheet with, listed with all the different numbers that you need to fill in. You come onto this party with me, and then I'm helping you understand what to make of that information, how to use that information. As an example, one of the companies that I've been working with, last April, they were doing $1,900 in the month of April in a certain revenue category. Okay. When we looked at it again, this past April, they had gone from $1,900 last April to $60,000 this April.
Wow.
Now, they attribute that. Of course it does. And they're on track to be close to $1 million this year. Okay. And so, they attribute that exactly to, taking off the blindfold in their business and looking at these numbers and knowing how to make decisions. Now, they had exceeded their sales goal, and they have exceeded their sales goal every single month this year so far. Awesome. But when we even dug into that $60,000 that they had made, we looked at some of the ways in which they were bringing that money in the door. And we realized that one of the key areas was actually down. Even though they had exceeded their sales goal, one key area was actually down. And so what did that tell us? Where to spend our energy. And then we spent, a few moments talking about, okay, well, let's craft a quick strategy on how do we actually spend our energy and our time so that we can get that particular, faucet pouring out with water. And within 2 weeks, they've completely turned that around and exceeded that particular area sales goal as well. So that's the power of leveraging numbers, because they're magical and they're beautiful. And I love helping women turn that light bulb on so that numbers are sexy. And the moment that it does, and I love the moment of watching this happen, Jen, because for everyone that I work with, it does happen at some point. It may take a while to get there, but it happens. And when that does, it's like the anxiety just like goes way down, because we carry so much anxiety around money. We do. And so the moment that light bulb goes on and you can predictably understand, what's coming in and what's going out and how to turn the faucet on or off, then your anxiety drops. And when your anxiety drops, you come from a place of abundance rather than from a place of scarcity. One of the things that I hear the most from entrepreneurs, especially women, is this concept of feast and famine mode, right? So it's like, I can bring money in the door. I can make money, but it feels like it just falls right through, like it's like water. It goes right through my hand. I can't seem to hold on to it. So I'm constantly in this like roller coaster cycle, right? Well, when we deal with the psychology, because there's some psychology stuff that's going on there too, some mindset stuff that needs to be dealt with. And we can talk about that more. But once you've kind of dealt with the psychology of this, and you also use tools like a dashboard to understand and measure. Hello, cutie pie.
I am sorry.
That's okay. Hi, welcome to our podcast.
This is part of Summer Childcare Challenges. Where's Miss Cara? Is she upstairs?
She's so welcome.
Oh, dear.
I think we should all bounce.
Yeah, I'm on a stability ball, so that's how she's bouncing. Yeah, we've had a few photo bombs lately where she comes in during. Yeah, we've been struggling a little this summer, but Miffy, this is Jennifer. You want to say hi to Jennifer?
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Sweetie, I'm recording right now, though. Would you mind go find Miss Cara and Miss Joe and see what's happening?
I want to stay down here.
You want to stay down here? I bet they're looking for you, though. They're probably like, where did Miffy go? Here, go find them for me, okay? I'll be up pretty soon, okay? Thank you, sweetie. Can you pull the door shut? Thank you.
And that's just all part of being a mom and an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and working from home in the summer when the kids.
And working from home. That's called life. It's all good. Yeah.
Well, and you know, I didn't know before you mentioned the wellness center. So my kids are both diagnosed with autism. My youngest is very high functioning. Miffy, can you go find Miss Cara, please? And her older sister is significantly affected. But I had no idea you'd done that. That really touched me. I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't planned that way, Jen. It naturally unfolded into this beautiful thing. I had worked with Ronald McDonald House and put together this really big experience for the kids who most of them were terminally ill. And we did this big beach day for them and their family. This was out in Bayville on Long Island several years ago. And as a result of that, we had a lot of autistic children and families coming to the center. And the doctor that I was working with at the center, she was just able to make so much progress with them and help them, really improve on the autism spectrum. And it was beautiful and wonderful and touching to watch these kids some of them be able to speak for the first time, want to have a hug or, at least some kind of human connection. So that was one of the most rewarding businesses in terms of touching children's lives that I've ever had. So
that's great.
Yeah, I feel you.
You've had so many amazing experiences, both what we've talked about and what's here on this page in front of me. But I wanted to connect this with our audience a bit again. And as you were talking about the numbers, even I, who, I try to look at my numbers regularly and figure them all out. I had this moment of kind of excitement and then deflation when you're like, we all get on a party together, we fill out our numbers. And I was like,
yeah,
are my numbers big enough? Does it even make sense for me to come work with you? And I'm sure I'm not the only one having that moment of I'm actually
you're not
a freelancer than a business owner right now, which I didn't know until I read Amanda Steinberg's book, which that's how we first got connected, was she came and
yeah, right. I love Amanda.
And there was that part about the roots and wings, and I realized when we sold our interest in our ranch, I cut off my big root, and now I'm a freelancer, and I've given myself a job instead of a business, and I would like to have a business again. I'm sure some of the listeners are like me. So how can we work with you for you to help us make the kind of jumps that you've made and you've seen these other entrepreneurs make? Because I think we all want to, if not have multi-million-dollar companies, at least have businesses instead of just jobs,
Yeah, for sure. And for some people, I just want to give the permission for those who do want to just have a simple job. That's okay. Yeah. Awesome. High fives to you. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those who feel stuck and not sure, how to really create that business, I'll say two things. You want to create a really solid strategy and plan. And part of how you can do that, Jen, I think we're going to talk a little bit about the money activation in New York City today. That's a really great way. Get yourself to New York City on July 17th through 19th. And we're going to be walking you through how to put a financial model together, setting a 90-day goal and plan and how to reverse engineer backwards, from that goal, all the steps that you need to take every single month, but then every single week within the month. And this is what I do with all of the companies that I work with, and even with my own team, with my own business, I'm doing this, right? So I'm not telling you anything that I'm not doing myself. But you want to literally reverse engineer backwards all of the actions that you need to take in order to even achieve your goal. And if you can't, if you can't do that, then come to this event and we're going to help you do that. And then you want to make sure that you've got a solid financial system and flow in place. And it sounds so icky and like, horrible, and it's really not. And so why I've created this particular event, Jen, is because I kind of want you to just like drop into like a nice cushy pillow and feel comfortable, like, I've got you. I'm bringing all the professionals into this experience. It's immersive. It's like being dropped in a really safe, cool environment in Mexico to learn Spanish, like at a resort, right? And then you're going to, by the time that you leave, you know that you're going to be able to speak Spanish well. It's the same thing here. It's like by the time you leave this event, your financial system is going to be set up. You're going to be clear on what your goal is. You're going to be clear on the steps that you need to take in order to achieve that goal. You're going to have your financial model put together. You're going to have your bookkeeper, and maybe you already have a bookkeeper. For a lot of people, they do. But I find that so many bookkeepers are incompetent or aren't setting up their systems properly or aren't tracking things properly. And so you're going to come into this immersive environment with like, oh, here's how I actually do it. Oh, they're actually doing it for me. Thank you so much. And you walk away going, okay, now I'm clear on every single step that I need to take for the next 90 days. And I call those sprints. So the way that I encourage entrepreneurs to work is in sprints. You want to set a goal, create an action plan for 90 days, and then plan some restoration, kind of like you would if you were training for the Olympics. You can't just go hardcore without resting. You want to make sure that you rest too. So that's like a 90-day sprint, setting the goal, reverse engineering, making sure that your financials, are kind of mapped around that with a team of professionals who help you digest it and look at it. And none of that has to be expensive. Like you sound like a team of professionals. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. No, we're talking about a few $100s a month. So it's nothing crazy. In fact, there's what I like to do and encourage entrepreneurs to do is use technology like HubDoc and Genius Scan that help automate a lot of the bookkeeping process so that you don't ever have to touch it or even see it, and that neither does the bookkeeper. And so not only are you saving yourself time, but you're saving yourself money. So these are the kinds of things that I'm helping entrepreneurs like you put together. But to go back to your point of like, okay, this feels like, am I even making enough money right now? Going back to this client that I was saying, well, in last April, they were making $1,900 in this particular revenue channel. Mm-hmm. That's not enough. That's not like in 1 month. That's not enough to sustain anything, really, right? So by the time that they had, and they actually just did this beautiful video because they're so excited about the work. By the time that they had been working with us, with One More Woman for 5 months, they were able to quit because they had like side projects going on to kind of fund their personal lives while they were building the business. Within 5 months, they were able to take a salary that sustained their life completely and have money and cash flow in the business to grow it. So none of this has to be complicated. It's really as simple as creating a solid plan and then creating sprints within that plan that are wrapped around solid, clear metrics that you can look at every single week, every single month, and use and adjust your energy according to that. Does that make sense? Because if it doesn't, let's dig further.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And that scenario you just set up, I think sounds a lot more like my audience, to be honest, either having, a spouse that works full time or a side job while you're building your business. I think that's true for a lot of people. So
that's true for a lot of people, especially starting out.
Yeah.
Especially starting out. Mm-hmm.
Well, fantastic. So in July, if they're going to go to your event, where is it? In New York? And
it's in New York City. Mm-hmm. Location TBD.
Okay.
And it'll be in a room with about 25 to 30 other entrepreneurs, where we're bringing in so by the way, you get access to QuickBooks for free for a period of time, which is super fun. So I'm bringing all of these really great companies and giving you discounts and, freebies through all of these companies too. So you come into a room for 3 days and it is truly an immersive experience. And the whole point of this is to really help you walk out with a clear system set up, a clear plan for the next 90 days set up, to have your books, like maybe it's not, maybe there's cleanup that you still need to go do from, months behind, but that moving forward, everything is clear, like your chart of accounts, how to invoice, taxes, payroll, like any of that stuff that may not be set up properly or isn't set up at all will be completely set up during the system and program. And then on top of that, you'll know what, how, and when to track and measure things. So it'll become really clear. And don't worry, because I'm not asking you to like become some spreadsheet genius right away. There's just some basic things that you want to take a look at. And so we help you understand what those things are and what they mean and how to look at them every single month. So I've got what I call, again, the Love Metrics dashboard that you're able to track everything in every single month. So the thing, I kind of talked a little bit about the feast and famine mode, right? It's like money's either flowing in or you're struggling to make ends meet. So I often hear that consistent revenue is what entrepreneurs are like feeling the most anxiety around, right? And especially in the early stages of business. And so part of this experience is about digging into, well, how do you actually create predictable cash flow? How do you actually create consistent revenue in your business? And if you do find yourself avoiding the numbers because thinking about them gives you anxiety and you really don't know where to begin, this is the place, this is the room to get yourself into, because we're going to help reduce your anxiety by giving you the visibility that you need to actually know what the heck you're supposed to be doing, and amongst others who are in the same boat as you. So, everyone's kind of coming to this like, I don't know, or I need to do this better. And with professionals who deeply care about helping you, get it all set and established. And after listening to hundreds of entrepreneurs, this is really why we ended up creating this money activation, because I want entrepreneurs to not only know how, but I want them to feel empowered. So this is the opportunity to get organized. This is the opportunity to feel empowered. This is the opportunity to also break through those money blocks. And entrepreneurs have many of them. In fact, we all do. We all have stuff around money. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have or don't have. I don't care where you come from in society. We all have stuff around money. And so part of this work is also breaking through that. Because just like, in the world of food and health, no amount of spinach or broccoli put into a really toxic environment is going to make you healthy. No amount of how to track something in your business is going to make you successful if you don't believe that you can be, or you've got something holding you back, right? So we want to break through some of those. And what I do is I help these entrepreneurs rewrite their money story. And there's a whole process that I walk entrepreneurs through to dig down into the depths of what's really going on for them. There are kind of three buckets that you can kind of look at this in. The first bucket is like, we want to bring what's actually happening in terms of the belief systems into full awareness. Once it's in full awareness, then we can begin to disrupt what's going on for them. And in this disruption category is where I get really excited. And I'll give you an example of this in just a minute. And once we've disrupted it, then we're rewiring and it's eradicated, right? That's kind of like the third bucket. And then that belief system is completely changed. You have a whole new belief system. So Jen, I'm gonna illustrate this and ground this for just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so we all have emotionally charged experiences in our life that we then ultimately end up creating belief systems around. So I'm gonna ask you, have you ever had like a really emotionally charged moment in your life where all of the hairs on your arms raised?
I imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone I ask that says yes, like my hair, yes, I felt really excited or moved by something, all the hairs on my arms raised. Okay. So did you look down at the hairs on your arms and say, hairs, I want you to raise?
No.
No, of course not. So what actually happened? Now I'm going to neuroscience geek out on you for a second. What happened was that there was dopamine released in your brain because you were emotionally moved by something. And that emotional charge releases dopamine and other neurochemicals in the brain. And that dopamine travels down into the back of the brain through the medulla, which is right here, which connects. So our brain is like the computer. The medulla is the transmitter that ends up releasing these chemicals into our body, and that controls our body. Okay. So ultimately what's happening is that our belief systems and how we feel about things are literally controlling our life and our body. And our brain, the computer, doesn't recognize the difference between positive or negative emotionally charged moments. It just recognizes, I got a dopamine hit. Oh, I want more of that. And so we can become addicted to those dopamine hits over and over and over again. We want that same thing over and over and over again. So we create the same patterns, we create the same belief systems, we create the same feelings, even though we say, gosh, I don't want to be with the same kind of guy. Why do I keep attracting a man that cheats on me? Why do I keep attracting a guy who is emotionally unavailable? We think that we don't want to create that pattern, but our brain, the computer, is addicted to that neurochemical hit and creates that same pattern over and over again. Well, the same thing is reading true in our money story. We're reliving the same story over and over and over again because we're addicted to this pattern. And so what we want to do in this, when I talk about these 3 different buckets, we want to trace back to the depths of where does this belief system actually start? And we want to bring that into full awareness so that we can move it into the disruption category. Once we disrupt it, there's simple things that we can do. I'll give you an example of this. Many years ago, I started saying out loud and writing in my gratitude journal every morning, I am the person that I admire the most. Now, did I believe that I was the person that I admired the most when I started writing it and saying it out loud? No. But the very act of saying that out loud, Jennifer, you are the person that I admire the most, then over time, months and years, anytime that I take an action or say something that isn't in alignment with the person that I admire the most, I become physically uncomfortable and emotionally uncomfortable, therefore closing the gap between the difference of who I am today and the person that I admire the most. That's called disrupting. And so I was closer and closer and closer to becoming the person that I admire the most by the sheer fact of saying that out loud every single day. That's one simple, tiny little thing you can do in the disruption bucket. Does that make sense?
That's a good one. Yeah, because when you said that, I was like, oh, I'm not sure my brain would really accept that entirely. I admire a lot of people.
Yeah. And so, in the rewriting of the money story, once we've identified like what the belief systems are, we can then rewrite it in a way that maybe you don't believe that's true right now, but the sheer fact of saying it out loud and then moving into, moving that gap, right? Closing that gap moves you closer to a new money story, which then finally over time moves you to the eradication of that belief system because it's completely rewired with a new belief system. And so that's what we want to do, right? Around our money.
So with the 3-day event, so that's just a short limited thing, right? It doesn't expand beyond the 3 days, the work that's done there?
So we absolutely welcome entrepreneurs to come within our community. We've got a couple of different membership levels where they can continue on into our monthly money parties and join us in our community, which we call Money Mastery, which is a really amazing community of women entrepreneurs who are digging in and having each other's backs every month. We get together for live masterminds on a quarterly basis. I'm helping everyone helping to hold them accountable to their 90-day plan. Every single month, we're getting on a call and talking about like, where are you? How's it going? Right. So this is a really in-depth, accelerator program. And then every Friday, every other Friday, we're getting onto a call with experts that I've curated to focus on the different areas of growth under the 4 pillars that we've identified that every business really needs to focus on to exponentially grow their business. And those 4 pillars, I'll just go into them really quickly. Those 4 pillars, like scaling abundance, and that's really like looking at the growth within your business, freedom systems, and energy fitness. So energy fitness is really like what some would call productivity, but I don't want to just look at productivity. I want to look at how are we actually managing our energy, and designing our time and within our business. Freedom systems, which is the quarter that we're in right now, that's really looking at like, how do I optimize and automate my business? How do I CEO things? How do I put on my CEO hat and design a business around my life, not my life around my business, through automation and optimization of systems. And then we go into the fourth pillar and the last quarter of the year, and we're looking at money casting. And so predictable cash flow into the future for the next year, and mapping out that plan. And again, all the while we're creating, the 90-day plan, the 90-day plan, the 90-day plan, because we can certainly plan an entire year or 5 years, but it's just not going to go down like that. So the importance of a 90-day sprint is really that it's far enough out to actually make things happen, but close enough in where it feels really achievable and doable, and it's in real time.
I agree with that. I think things move so fast now that 5-year plans, I don't know. I feel like there's nothing in my life I can plan 5 years out anymore.
No, we can have a vision. And we should have a vision of where we ultimately, like, the impact that we want to make in the world, and have kind of some high level thought process around where we're headed. But to like really map out action steps, we don't have any freaking clue. Yeah. So 90-day plans are a good way to go.
That sounds great. I feel like there's been a lot of research around that. Like, I remember somebody did that 12-week year, and then somebody else does, we have 90-day year. That lots of people have started using these more sort of like quarterly goals.
For sure.
Yeah. So
for sure.
I know I've seen some studies that said it just works a lot better with the way our minds work now, especially with everything moving so fast and us having so many distractions. So that sounds great.
That's right.
So we will definitely put links to get to the event below.
The money activation.
The money activation event.
Yeah. Okay. What they get is like an elimination of stress. Know how and what to track in your business so that you can create consistent and generate consistent revenue, and make knowledgeable choices of where to invest your money, your time, when to know who and how much you can pay to hire different people, like in your business, have a clear plan and financial model, and then, have a complete financial system and flow set up for your business, that's optimized and automated with technology to help you save time and money. And doing this in an environment that is, again, really safe and really comfortable while we're helping you break through your money blocks in the process. So we're weaving in the psychology while we're bringing in the nuts and bolts of like, okay, let's get this done. Let's make numbers fun and sexy, and like get it mapped out for you so you can go home and be like, I know what to do now.
We're
just finishing up, sweetheart. What's
that? Tell you something. I found a fold that came with that red spots on the butt horse. I found a fold that came with it.
You did? Okay. Well, good. Are you gonna go play with it? Okay, sounds good. Very important message. Horses are being a lot to them right now.
Every podcast should have a commercial break.
There's a commercial break for a red dappled butt horse, So, and because I already know that I can't make it to the July one, which I would love to. It sounds amazing, but we're taking my oldest daughter has some medical things scheduled that exact same weekend. For people who can't make it but really want to be involved in this in some way, what should we do?
Yeah, so head over to onemorewoman.com, and I recommend checking out either one of our two programs, Money Talks, which gives you access to Friday calls with me and other experts, and then into our community. And it's a really low price point of $97 a month, and gets you access to great conversations, to the planning. We help you kind of outline the 90-day plan. You just do it on your own. It's a DIY kind of system. So that's the Money Talks program. Or schedule time to talk to me and see if the Money Mastery program, which is our 12-month accelerator, which I kind of talked lightly about, is the right fit for you. Because I would love nothing more. My whole vision is to create an army of women entrepreneurs who are moving into 6-figure, 7-figure businesses, that we can redistribute the wealth in this world and make the kind of impact that women are designed to make, because we're biologically, hormonally, physiologically designed to nurture. And this world more than ever needs you to do just that, and to break through everything that's holding you back, to do that in a collaborative environment that's supported with other entrepreneurs that are really high performing, that's guided in a way that's not only mindset, right? We need the mindset, we need to be empowered, and that's great, but you also need the how-to. You need the nuts and bolts of this. And that's, I think, what makes When We're Women really unique, is that we're providing both of those things for you.
That is fantastic. Because
So,
I feel like so many of us do the spaghetti at the wall, the flip. You know, when you were talking about the action steps you have to take to do it, I myself have days where I sit down and I know that I have things that need to get done by the end of the week, but I'm like, which action do I take right now? What's the most important thing to do right now? And sometimes I have trouble even determining what that is. So
prioritizing it. Yeah,
and having a group of people who've moved further in business than you have and can help reflect on, like, when I was at your stage, this is what made a big difference to me. That sounds so helpful and amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've given us so many.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Oh, you bet. And hopefully, like I said, I can't make July, but I would like to make a future event, because this sounds really amazing.
100%.
Times that I've actually traveled, because I live in rural Arizona, nobody comes to me. When I have actually traveled to events, the few times I've done it lately, it has made so much difference. Meeting people in person, actually being in a room with people who are working on the same kinds of projects and problems that I am, it really does accelerate things. So I really encourage anyone who can do this to go and give it a go. Plus, going to New York, for those of us who live in like rural areas, that's a treat in itself. Like getting to New York and meeting amazing people like Jennifer, you should totally go do it.
So no one wins alone. No one.
Yeah. We all need each other.
Yeah. We all need each other.
Again, Jennifer, sorry, I'm the Jen, you're the Jennifer. And I will definitely keep in touch with you, because I think I need a lot of this myself, and I really appreciate what you're offering to everybody.
Awesome, Jen. Love nothing more than to support you, and anyone who's listening and watching, reach out. I'd be happy to connect with you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.